By a show of jumping up and down, who wishes that they would revert back to 6v6?
I also would love to have played in 66, like more than anything. So
Everyone in this game has kind of a toxic side.
Welcome back to Overthink, the game show where I ask contestants a series of Overwatch hot takes to see where they stand. Feel free to play along in the comments to let me know what your opinions are on these hot takes. And if you'd like to actually be on an episode, go ahead and sign up in my Discord. I host these live on my Twitch channel most Sundays, so please go follow me on there to catch a show live. And lastly, please don't forget to drop a like and subscribe for more content like this. Alright, we're just gonna go down the line, just because this episode is so interesting with the demographic that we have. You guys are all brand new to Overwatch for the most part. I mean, considering the fact the game's been out since 2016, 8 years old now, and all of you started within the last year. I feel like a very small portion of people could relate to that. I feel like a lot of Overwatch players played in Overwatch 1, and the ones that didn't usually started around the start of Overwatch 2. So we have a really interesting group of players here. You could just introduce yourself, say when exactly you started playing Overwatch 2, and then if you just want to tell us in a sentence or two what got you into it. But yeah, Widow, take it away.
Hello, I'm Chocolate, and I started in Season 7. And what started me from playing Overwatch was the fact that my friends wanted me to play with them, so I decided to join them in this.
I've been playing since Season 7, and I got into it because I love games with characters. They're my favorite kind of games, and I think the characters are really cute. My friends like to send pictures of them and stuff like that, and I've always loved Widowmaker's character. Like, I love her design, so that kind of got me into it.
Hi, I'm Jill. I started probably about late season 9. What got me into it, I would say that it was probably now free to play, but I also kind of forgot about it for a while.
I'm King Snake. I started at season 7, and I joined because I wanted to use High Noon. I saw clips of it, and I just really wanted to use it.
That's so funny. And then what do you think about High Noon after you tried it in game?
It's horrible.
Yeah, I figured. I was like, what an interesting thing to play Overwatch for, and what a letdown. Yeah, it's not good. Oh man, I'm so sorry. What the happened in season 7? I think everybody here for the most part so far has joined in season 7. So did any of you join because of the LeSseraphim Club?
I did. Amish girl, me.
Okay, interesting. All right, we have a question about that later.
Hi, I'm Astral. I started playing the game because I had a friend who was super into it, and I wanted to play with her. It was actually my first-person shooter ever. I started in mid to late season 8, so mid-December.
Hi, I'm Athena, and I started in season 8 when Malga started terrorizing everybody, and I got into Overwatch because beforehand I was always anti-Overwatch. I was like, I hate Overwatch, it's so dumb. And then I started seeing more of my friends getting into it, and I was like, I'll try it out. And I played Lucio, and I fell in love since then.
Hi, I'm Thieves, and I started playing in season 7, which was October, I'm pretty sure. And I started playing because I was sleeping over at my best friend's house and she forced me to play it. So I was basically kidnapped into playing this. And I played it ever since.
I'm Maracais, and I started playing in mid-season 6 when I found out the game was free. And I got into it because I followed this artist on social media that drew different kind of fandoms and then they got into Overwatch, and seeing them draw the characters made me want to get into it just because how good they look and their style. And it's mostly just because of the characters and lore that made me get into it, but I was not much of a video game person in general before Overwatch 2.
Coming into Overwatch, the monetization is more fair than other games I've played. Cool. So just to make sure that y'all are in the right spot, because I know it's the first hot take and it could be a little confusing, Cassidy and Venture are in somewhat agree, and everybody else is in somewhat disagree.
I can go first. So honestly, I don't fully care about monetization prices because if they're strictly cosmetic, which they are in Overwatch besides the invasion stuff, but nobody cares about that. But I honestly think that other games will price $500 for certain cosmetics like Apex heirlooms or sorts, but Overwatch is $20, $30, maybe $40, $50 for certain packs and bundles, and usually legendary skins are no more than $20, and I think it's just fair. I'll buy something occasionally. And I didn't come from any specific game. I just play whatever I see usually, and Overwatch gripped me into it.
I feel like pricing like one skin $20 is like that's just not fair. Like considering like the change from this since like in Overwatch Gen 1, like the monetization was like different since this is like free to play now and you had to buy Overwatch 1. Like sure you had to like buy the game, but all the stuff was free there. And yeah, it's just like pricing one skin like $20 is like not fair. And yeah.
My opinion is that I feel like it is more on the expensive side, especially for like one skin that's like really cute. You're like, oh my gosh, I want it, but it's so expensive. Like all the cute skins are so expensive a little bit. But I do feel like it's very leveled. I came from playing Apex, and compared to that, it's like $20, very match, but so it's somewhat disagreeable.
I think Overwatch's community is on the more toxic end compared to other games' communities. We have at least one person per stance in every stance except neutral. All right, we had 2 people in agree, 2 people in somewhat agree, 1 person somewhat disagree, and 3 people in disagree. So let's start off with who would like to speak and agree.
I knew this game was going to be like toxic before I got into it because, I have people telling me that I should be aware. But I've also been in different communities, which were also pretty toxic. But this might have been one of the worst ones I've experienced in custom games and in matches in general. But of course, I have friends in this game, who can also be toxic, including me. And, everyone in this game has kind of a toxic side. But there's nice people too. But that's kind of a rare situation to get into.
Okay, so I'm in somewhat agree, mostly because playing the game, I've come across my fair share of toxicity, but I do know that in servers like ChristalRaine's, there's definitely a lot more of the positive side and such like that, but just the game in general, I have not had much luck with finding actually decent people to play with.
I kind of feel like since this game has voice chat, it's technically more toxic because I feel like people are more toxic when they're in voice chat. That's all I have to say about it.
I'm in somewhat disagree because when I'm in a group with my friends, we all join the group voice chat because we like engaging with the people on our team. And it's like only rarely that we get people who are toxic. Like most people either just don't talk or are just like really nice. But yeah, and there definitely is a bit of toxicity in the Overwatch community. But I'd say other games are definitely like way worse. I'd say, yeah.
I have noticed that a lot of games are everybody you meet is just terrible to you. Everybody you meet like in like voice chats is like slurs, name calling. I don't experience as much of that with Overwatch because I have met a decent bit of toxic people, but I've also met a lot of really nice people in this community. Like really sweet people in chat, really sweet people in like separate servers, like this server, like in the CrystalRaine Discord. Everybody there is super sweet, non-toxic, but I feel like you don't really get a lot of that with other games.
I fully disagree because Overwatch does have a lot of toxicity, like has a lot of toxicity, but compared to other games, most people, maybe it's because of the moderation and report system, or because not everybody uses voice chat. I try to use voice chat every match I'm in, but a lot of people are not in voice chat. And the most toxicity I'll get is people saying, oh, I diffed you, or targeting something specific, or just saying random words like they're 12 years old. But other games, I hear every round of the bout. I hear slurs. I hear shaming just for like voices or names or something, and not just what happened in game. And it goes more personal, I feel like, in other communities than Overwatch.
Support is the easiest role for a new player to start on.
So I think support is the easiest role to start out with, but I don't think it's the easiest role in general, but that's different. But I think it's the easiest role because there are so many options that just give you a lot of personal survivability and teammate survivability. And for newer players, they're going to see the big guy on their team and they're going to be like, I want to heal that guy. And it's really easy to do that. And staying alive probably isn't as easy. So keeping your tank alive makes the enemy team want to shoot your big guy, and just keeping your big guy alive. It's kind of a cycle of new players, and I think support is just you feel less pressured by everything else besides just healing your tank, and that's why I think it's easiest for new players.
As someone who started off as Lucio when I began the game, I wouldn't say it's the easiest because you have to keep everyone alive and also attack at least for a little, which can also help more. And I think it's the easiest one.
What I think is that DPS is kind of like the role you're kind of learning in the first thing in the tutorial. It's like the first thing you learn. So I feel support, you don't really have any backstory on it, so you really don't know who to keep alive or what to do. So I'm somewhat agreeing though, but it is a good thing to start with as DPS.
So as someone who is a support main, I agree with what Chocolate has to say. When you're first starting out the game, you kind of get thrown right into DPS, and I was not very good at that at all. And that's what I found very difficult, was while trying to get used to the DPS characters, I just personally couldn't. But once I switched over to support, I could grasp each of the different characters themselves. And, I kind of found my place as a Mercy main, but I can see why people can think it's the easiest role, but I think the most difficult part about it is definitely keeping your teammates alive and kind of taking the blame when they think otherwise.
I think the people that ask for things to be reverted back to how they were in the old game needs to move on. So nobody in the agree side of the spectrum, nobody in neutral, and we have 4 people in somewhat disagree and 3 people in disagree.
I think that I feel like no matter what, they have to move on. So that's why I'm in somewhat a disagree. Like, it kind of sucks that the game isn't how it was before. But I also get it, Like, this isn't... I want to see 6v6. Like, I'm kind of jealous, Like, I'm like, oh, I've never played Overwatch 1. Like, it would be nice to see it. So I wouldn't expect them to move on if they decide not to. Like, I get it.
Okay, so I think it's completely fair for old players to want the developers to bring back old things from the game, because I have done that before, and I just think it's completely fair. And I also would love to have played in 6v6, like, more than anything, so...
I disagree that they should move on, because I feel like the only way you get a company, like a game company, to change is by keeping your stance and shouting at them for however long. And also, I do agree with them on most parts, the most popular one being 6v6. I think the game would just be healthier anyways, because the 5v5 oriented characters they've made have ended up, most of them, I feel like Kiriko, for example, really haven't ended up in the spot where people imagined it. It doesn't really seem as healthy. And in 6v6, even some of the newer tanks like Junker Queen or Ramatra would feel so good with the other tanks like Junker Queen and Zarya, or Junker Queen and maybe like Reinhardt or Diva or something. And I think it would be really fun. And the player base, a lot of the new player base could experience something they've never tried before. It doesn't necessarily have to be something permanent. Maybe trying it out in quick play hacked or whatever and seeing how it can go from there. Because moving on from everything in a state where Overwatch is now is unhealthy.
By a show of jumping up and down, who wishes that they would revert back to 6v6? So every single person here wants them to go back to 6v6. So let me ask you a follow-up question. None of you have played 6v6, correct? Because you all started playing Overwatch within the last year. So what is making you guys desire to return to this format that you've never played? Is it because of what you hear from content creators talking about it? Is it because in your head you think that it would solve the problems? What is it? Whoever wants to speak, it could just be an open discussion.
Okay, so as a tank main, the idea of another tank to like kind of help me do my job, that seems amazing to me. And I feel like I would love to be like an off tank so I can focus on peeling easier. And I don't know, playing one tank is kind of like, I feel like I'm responsible for like everything that's going wrong. And so, I don't know. I also just think it would be more fun that way. Like, I think it would be more fun.
So a lot of it stems from wanting the extra friend, but what about the aspect of having an extra raid boss to kill on the enemy team? Is that off-putting to you?
Yeah, I would not like to play against it, obviously, but I feel like it'd be kind of worth it to play with another tank.
I hear so many positive things about the first game in general, which makes me really want to experience it. And I would really like 6v6 because, just more people in the game and it'll make it fun as a six stack. And, I've seen all the very cool ult combos, especially with Zarya included. And, I feel like that would just make the game more fun and all. And that's just my kind of statement.
I see a lot of content creators and just people in general who played Overwatch 1 saying that like 6v6 was so much better and they want it back. And looking at all those clips, like it makes me want it back as well because like I feel like it makes the game more dynamic and more engaging. And you have more survivability as like 5 other people on your team and not including yourself. And yeah, it looks like it'll make the game more fun.
So I think bringing back 6v6 is probably the only option to fix tanks, and also with double shield stuff. I don't think it would be an issue because, for one, Narissa doesn't have a shield anymore, and the only other tanks that have shields besides Sigma are Ramatra and Reinhardt, and nobody ever complains about Reinhardt's shield. I mean, most of the time. And Ramatra's shield is worse than garbage, in my opinion. So I feel like bringing 6v6 would only have positives for the most part, and double shield would not be a thing.
The team behind Overwatch has favorite heroes and also others which they unfairly ignore. 3 people in agree, 3 people in somewhat agree, and 1 person in neutral. Chat, what do you guys think about this one? All right, let's start with the agreeers. Let's hear from 1, maybe 2 of you. Who would like to start?
Yeah, definitely, because Kiriko, like, you can see with Kiriko, like, she gets skins every season compared to Brick, who's only just got a skin in the Battle Pass, like, last season. And it's with skins and stuff. But yeah, so I don't know what to say. That's like my only point.
I agree with the whole Kiriko thing. Like, I get she is a pretty popular character, and a lot of people use her, and even I like using her. But I feel like she just gets too much, along with Mercy and probably Widowmaker too. And those are all heroes I like to use. But I just feel like there should be some that should just, get what they deserve. And other of their users agree. Like, I'm finally glad Ramatra gets another skin. Now he just needs an emote too. And I'm also glad Iadi's got one. And, but I also look at most of the tank characters that don't get the best skins. And all they really get is like recolors with an unnecessary price. And meanwhile, just the other characters I mentioned who are considered favorites gets a lot more. And it's just not really fair. It's because they want money.
So I've definitely noticed with my short time playing that characters like Farah, Kiriko, Mercy, they're almost always getting skins. But then we move on to characters like Echo, and while she might be getting recolors, they're not of the best quality. And I just think that it's kind of disappointing to see that, especially since for a little while I really liked Echo, but knowing that she didn't really have good skins kind of made me not like her all that much anymore.
That brings up a really good discussion as well. Jump up and down if you guys have mained a hero before solely based on their cosmetics. Okay, there's a couple. I know back in the day, I was a Tracer main, like when I first started playing Overwatch. Well, actually, when I first started playing Overwatch, I played Bastion and Zen. But my first real main was Tracer. But I remember looking at her cosmetics and being like, she's not girly pop enough for me. So then I started playing Diva. I really only picked up Diva because I liked her aesthetic. I liked her skins. I thought her, the pink emotes and sprays were cute and everything like that. So yeah, it's a really good point to bring up.
Yeah. So coming from a Venture player who hasn't gotten a single legendary skin in the existence of my character, I may be like, it sucks. The devs don't care about my character, but I really don't think it matters. I mean, I'd rather the company be making money so that they can have more resources to actually put good stuff, in my opinion, stuff that is not just cosmetic, but like events and game modes and balance changes into the game. So I really don't care if they farm 5 million off of one Kiriko skin. And why I'm neutral is also because balance changes, I feel like, are a completely different topic from just dev bias for certain heroes. So I don't really want to give an opinion on that.
So I have a couple questions for all of you. Do you guys think devs are more biased when it comes to cosmetics or when it comes to balancing, like buffing characters or nerfing characters or whatever? What do you guys think they're more biased towards between the two?
I think that the devs are more biased towards doing balance changes, if you mean like do they do one over the other. But if you mean they're more biased in one category, I think they're more biased still in balance categories, because a lot of heroes just kind of get ignored for multiple seasons on end. Well, most heroes get a skin at least once every other season.
Okay. Thieves, are you disagreeing? I see you shaking your head over there.
With the skins part, not every hero gets a skin like every other season. Like, I think you can see there's just like a lot of bias just to the more popular heroes than the least popular ones, like I said before, with like Brig and stuff. And also with like the balancing as well. Like, I think that the devs are very like the bias towards popular characters in both aspects. Like, as a light viewer, I mean, like his kit is not good. It's like I also play Messi as well. It's like they both need both, but they're not getting any, and they need them.
All right, I have a follow-up question. Who do you guys think is Blizzard's favorite and least favorite? Just anybody who wants to speak up.
I feel like their favorite is Mercy, and as for least favorite, I would say like any of the tanks, really. I feel like tanks don't get enough love. But I would say Mercy, which is good because there is a cancer event going on right now. And with the pink, when a pink Mercy was out, I thought it was very good that they were raising something for charity. I thought that was very good. But you can definitely see, I feel like, who's the favorite right now.
I don't know about their least favorite, but I definitely know they're deeply in love with Kiriko, because I'm pretty sure on the main page they replaced Diva with Kiriko, like on the arcade select screen. They try to push her so hard to be the main and the favorite. They give her a bunch of cool skins, and like she was just dominant in the meta for so long.
Even though I never experienced the first game before, what I'm just imagining is that I don't think they've had a favorite. They just like choose a favorite, if you know what I mean. Like most played character and who the fans really love. And I'm thinking of like Mercy. And I'm not saying that she didn't deserve the pink skin. She did. She was perfect. And I'm glad that skin was able to like exist. But it's like what the other person said about Kiriko. It's like they try to make a diva copy. Like they try to make a character that just seems like she doesn't fit into the game and lore. Like she's just has magic, if you're familiar with the lore. And so that's why they're giving her like mini skins. Like she's already gotten a mythic skin, so it's like we don't need to wait for that. And they're just like putting a line to her just to make her as popular as possible. That's why I think she's like Blizzard's favorite. I'm not sure about the least favorite, but I just know by so far Venture seems like the least favorite. They haven't even gotten like a legendary skin, like it was mentioned before.
I think a good amount of the hate that Overwatch gets is justified. Nobody'd agree. 2 people in somewhat agree, 2 people in neutral, 2 people in somewhat disagree, and 1 person in disagree.
I feel like the comparison between Overwatch 1 and Overwatch 2 is, from what I've heard, I just feel like Overwatch 1 has a better monetization system on like the consumer's end. And I feel like I don't know, I'm kind of drawing a blank. Like, I've just seen a lot of hate about Overwatch, and I kind of agree with it because it just seems like they don't really care about their game anymore. Like, obviously, they never really had a soul in the first place, but it feels like they're not really showing us that they have a soul anymore because they're just kind of pushing out, like, recolors of skins and like not really making as much effort, I feel like, as they did in Overwatch 1 with skins. And yeah, I think that's about it.
I've already seen a lot of hate before I played it, and now I'm kind of starting to, I mean, not now, but I see the reason why. There's a lot of reasons, all the balancing and all the toxic people, and I guess the prizes of the skin. And, you know, I would be mad too, and I've gotten mad at like a lot of things that they've added to the game, and especially all the PvE stuff, you know. I really wish that was still around. And I assume that the devs have made promises for like things that they would have made, and it just kind of never happened. And they're just never what the players want best.
I like it is justified because at the end of Overwatch 1, like the 2 years like during the end of it, like the game was like abandoned, and they like Blizzard kind of promised they wouldn't do that, but they did and their excuse was they were working on Overwatch 2. Like the only thing about Overwatch 2 that really stands out like is 5v5. Like they didn't live up to what they said about PvE. They abandoned that. They abandoned a lot of things like the weapon inspects, like etc. But I also feel like you can't really like blame them as well a bit because they've got other stuff to work on. But I'm like, I do feel like there's some responsibility that needs to be held like towards all the fake promises that they said to the community.
Do you have any counterpoints? Because from what you're saying right now, it feels like you hold more of an agree stance, but you're in the neutral. So do you have any like kind of like opposite feelings about what you just said?
Yeah, I don't know. I like I said before, they've just got other stuff to work on, and I feel like a large portion of the responsibility goes towards the people actually making those decisions instead of like the people working on the game, like the people who are actually like making the skins compared to like the people who are deciding all this. So I feel like we shouldn't really give them like the full like blame. I feel like it's only like partial towards the people. Like I feel like it should be more directed at the people who actually made those decisions, like instead of like all of Blizzard.
I feel like most of the hate comes from a decent amount from people that haven't played the game. Like before I started playing, I hated it, but as I started playing, I realized the only bad things I heard was like they released it for the content and then got rid of it, like the story missions. And I realized it's actually a fun game, and it's great compared to what I've heard. And it doesn't deserve to be lumped in with things like Valorant, which are just like really weird.
So I think the hate is completely unjustified because most of the hate, like 99% of the hate, I feel like, is towards decisions that are almost always going to be made by the people who don't want to make them. Or, I mean, done by the people who don't make them. Like what Thieves was saying, the higher-ups at Blizzard, they want to find ways to, their company, they want to profit. And most of the time that revolves around decisions that don't benefit basically anybody but themselves. And the game suffers from that greatly. And I feel like the devs are typically going to be overworked, and recoloring skins and removing certain content is the output of that. And there's nothing you can really do about it. And hating Overwatch is like not really fair because it's not Overwatch or the devs' fault.
After hearing others speak, is there anybody that would like to change their stance? Is that a yes, Thieves?
Yeah, I feel like I should have put myself towards the partially agree because I wasn't really neutral. I was more towards the side of that they should be to blame.
Okay, go ahead. Move on over. All right. A collab Overwatch has done has got me more invested or excited to play the game than I otherwise would have been. All right. We have a ton of people in agree, and then one lone person in the disagree. Alrighty. Is there anybody here who started playing Overwatch because of a collab?
So I got into Overwatch during the Le Seraphim collab because I'm a huge K-pop fan, and I immediately fell in love with the skins. I fell in love with the game and Diva's gameplay, and I was playing it with my friends, and it just felt so joyous. I loved it, so I kept playing.
So after, the new season started, season 11, and watching the trailer, I got very excited for the Transformers collab. I'll be honest, I'm a huge Transformers fan. So seeing that come out has made me play a lot more recently, and I've actually found a lot of enjoyment out of my time playing Overwatch just because of it.
Well, I should have jumped when I said like I started playing because of a collab, but like One Punch Man is not the whole reason why. I was just like a huge One Punch Man fan at that time, and seeing that Overwatch is making an event because of it, I wanted to play. And with that Kiriko skin, it made me want to play more just because she was dressed as my favorite character. And even as much as like the devs have disappointed players, I see that they're still like trying to like bring good things to the game, That's why they started making collabs, just like other games around that do it. And, that's one good thing I can say about the game in general. I'm hoping that they would keep bringing it and, in more popular sources to bring to the game. And, I'm wondering what they'll do next. So far, I really like the K-pop one as well, and Cowboy Bebop. And even as expensive as they can make the skins, I really like it.
Yeah, I'm actually very excited about this because the K-pop was so cute. And the music, whenever you left and you just heard the theme song go on, was adorable. I just loved it. But I also liked the Diablo part where they did Lilith for Mora. I love that skin. Oh my gosh, it's just so adorable, and I love the collabs that they do. I'm a very K-pop person too, but I never heard of this K-pop group, and it made me look into them. Honestly, it was just so cute. I bought them all immediately.
I have a follow-up question before we get to you on the disagree side of the spectrum, Venture. Is there anybody who the opposite has applied to where you played Overwatch and because of a collab you got into what the collab was, whether it's Transformers, One Punch Man, Le Seraphim, anything like that?
I got interested in Cowboy Bebop because whenever that happened, I was like, oh, I really want to get into it. And I watched a few episodes, and then I found out I didn't like it, unfortunately. So I was really excited to get into it, and then I ended up not liking it. But I guess it still counts.
Let's move on to the disagree side of the spectrum. So back to the original hot take.
Yeah, I disagree, honestly, because I don't really care about any of the collabs that happened, at least when I started playing. The One Punch Man collab happened beforehand, and honestly, I would be past agree onto very agree if I played during them, but I didn't. Otherwise, Cowboy Bebop, Porsche, Transformers, all of those, I just don't really care for them. And even if there is a collab that I do like, I'm not going to probably play the game more other than just trying out the new skins, unless it's on heroes that I don't like.
Gamers, that was our last hot take. Thank you for coming on the show. We always like to end the show off by y'all looking at the camera, or at least where you think the camera is, and ulting it and saying to the viewers, subscribe to ChristalRaine. Yippee! All right, ready? On 3. Ult the camera and say it. 1, 2, 3.
Subscribe to ChristalRaine.
Y'all see that high noon right there? That's why they started playing the game.
2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I play easy mode and I play to win. I love to die and I like to BRB. All systems checked out. Group up with me. 2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I'm here to party. GG. A giant gorilla can keep up with me. You can't be serious.